I don't trust him.
Victor and I don't trust Elgin, and neither should you. Season 3, Episode 9, Revelations Part 1. But did we get the revelations we were really hoping and looking for? With this show, it's easy to feel like we're not getting any answers, and we have this continuous, slow, dramatic buildup to what will hopefully be us getting answers and payoff by the end of the season. However, there's a bunch of small details that everyone is missing, and I'm going to show you guys all the details you might have missed in Season 3, Episode 9. So hit that subscribe button, like this video, and let's get right into it. Now, this leads me to start thinking about Elgin's dream. We know that Elgin had a dream when he got to Fromville that connected him to not only Fromville, but a bunch of storylines within it. All things that at first I couldn't figure out why they were connected, and now I think I figured it out. He remembered not just Fromville, but he also remembered the Brundles. He remembered Smiley's death. He remembered Fatima's pregnancy, which led him to remembering the nursery rhyme, the cicada monster, and the boy in white. Now you might be asking, how is this all connected? Well, it's all connected to the 1931 cycle. I have a video already on my channel breaking down what I call the landmark theory, and that how all the numbers in the lighthouse are still years, they are still dates, and they are all connected separately to different landmarks in from. 1931 was one of the dates I had not pinned down yet, as well as the cicadas, Martin, the ruins, and everything else. But now, based off of this episode, I believe that they are one and the same. 1931 is also connected to the root cellar itself, because the root cellar itself can be dated to 1931 through the light fixtures within the cellar. So can the storyline that is happening with Fatima. The Sabume ghost monster is clearly Japanese. What was happening in 1931 in America? A lot of Japanese colonization of Hawaii. What else have we seen in the show? Hawaii signs. Again, this is not a coincidence. We also know that Elgin has ties to Japanese culture through his grandmother, who used to knit owls and nothing else, which is considered a Japanese custom that did travel to America through Japanese settlement. Again, it's all connected, but guess what even connects more to this? The ruins themselves, the root cellar, and the ruins that are connected to this root cellar that no one is talking about are clearly buildings that can be dated back to the era of 1931. What else stands out about this cellar? If we go inside the cellar with Fatima, what do we see? Peach cans. Why are peach cans important? Because peach cans used to be used to feed the military during this era. Who do we know is connected to the military? Martin. Who do we think is connected to the cellar? Martin might be the body in the cellar. And now we know that there's a trap door or another cellar within the cellar. And where does this potentially connect? I believe we're going to see that this connects to the building that Martin is in, the ruins that Martin is connected to. They are all going to connect because they come from the same timeline and potentially connect through the caves. And the cicada, better known as the 17-year locust, is a species found only in the eastern part of the United States. A lot of things we're seeing through the show are in the eastern part of the United States. This species can be divided into different broods, aka different types. Specifically, brood XV, which Roman numeral 15, was one of the largest broods, which last appeared in 1931. That is why they're using cicadas. Cicadas are very relevant during this era of America. They're being used with the music box monster that is connected to Martin, who is a Marine that is potentially from 1931, which is why he recognized Boyd's gun was a gun, but he didn't recognize the newer version of this type of gun. Now, the question still is, how does he know Julie and how does he know Abby? Huge questions. I don't know, but I believe that Martin himself is connected to the 1931 timeline. But now some of these connections between Elgin's dreams, remembering all of these separate events, Fatima being tied to this monster that's somehow tied to the cicadas, and the cicadas being tied to Martin and these ruins, and now the root cellar, all start to finally make sense when now you know that they're all linked to 1931. If you want to see the other dates I have figured out in the town that are all connected and connect to the things we're seeing in the show, my video is up, but let's continue to talk about episode 9. So now the question becomes, what is Fatima giving birth to? I believe that this baby, we will know more about what it is if we can figure out. So this is where I go to you guys in the comments. what kind of monster would be attracted to rotten vegetables and human blood, but not raw meat and animal blood? That's something we know specifically is going on with Fatima, because we saw her arc of eating the rotten vegetables, of being attracted to the raw blood from Nikki's body, but not liking the smell of the raw meat that was being cooked in Colony House. Again, I don't know what this baby is, but it's bad news, and it's going to make whatever's happening in Fromville a lot worse, and Fatima might die in this process. Donna decides to protect Fatima. Thank God. I'm glad she finally came to her senses. Like, you were just going to turn on her on a drop of a dime, like nothing y'all ever been through together mattered. I'm so glad they fixed that in the storyline and in the plot. Use these ruins to travel back in time. Did she travel back in time as well as Boyd to 1931? I don't know. There's a lot of questions here. We also have to mention how Martin knew about the town. I'm starting to believe that everything we see in Fromville was already there, regardless of what year of the cycle we were in. Now, let's go to Jade. Jade is recreating the bottle tree. This is something that we've seen is his process through everything that he's trying to figure out, is he recreates things in physical form, and now he's recreating the bottle tree. But as he's doing that, Christopher shows up with the doll. And now the last thing I want to bring up, because we talked about the bottle tree and Victor trying to cut down the bottle tree, there's a big miscommunication in the Fromley community on who created the original bottle trees. And I believe the fact that 1864 being the only number in the bottle tree means that whoever was in Fromville in 1864 is the person who created the original bottle trees in From. We know that Miranda had visions of these bottle trees that she painted, and that's what caused her to start making these bottle trees, in my opinion. I don't believe Miranda made the first bottle tree in From. I believe the bottle trees she made in the real world were replicas of the actual tree she was seeing in her visions. And even the original bottle tree in the real world she made in the park was after she had seen the visions of the bottle tree through her visions of the past people in Fromville who filled the original cycles. But I believe she dropped acid at the park with Henry before that tree was a bottle tree. Then went back to the park after having her visions and made that tree the first bottle tree she made, and then made a replica of it by the house so she could keep it by her. And I believe the bottle trees in Fromville are originally made by somebody else. Now, it's important to note that the history of bottle trees are actually a form of talisman, that there is history of bottle trees I'm going to try to have on screen in this video, of bottle trees in the past being used to ward off evil spirits. So again, maybe that's why these bottles are on the tree in the first place. I also wonder what the numbers in the bottles actually still mean. I do not know yet. We won't know until we're able to get all the numbers that are in the bottle tree, right? But we do know that 1864 is the only date in the bottle tree. And there's a bunch of other numbers in this bottle tree that have 3 digits, 4 digits. So I don't know what they are. They could be a code, just like Jade said, or they could be something completely else. That's so Raven visions about the past. Like, this is throwing me off. But it brings up cycle theory versus reincarnation. We see that Tabitha has visions now that she's touching Victor. She touches the actual root cellar, and now when she's in the root cellar and hugs Victor, it brings up all of these visions that then leads her to seeing visions of Miranda when she was in the town that day when it all happened, and she's running out in the forest at night and makes it to the bottle tree where we know Victor said he found her body, and guess who she runs into? Smiley. Now, have to point out, Smiley all of a sudden can run now. So that's an interesting detail to me. Did they used to run in Fromville? We know that Boyd brought up the fact that once he found the talismans, the monsters changed. We know that he said that they used to scream all the time and they were just acting a lot different before he found the talismans. Is this another way that they changed? All of a sudden, these monsters walk and they're very mature, very demure, and they come and get you in a much different way. Now, if this does confirm reincarnation and that ends up being the twist, I think it reminds me of the Jasper twist and how Jasper wasn't talking. It feels like another cheap twist that makes everything we saw before not make sense. I know reincarnation theory and the cycle theory, replacement theory was something that a lot of us saw coming, was being foreshadowed. but actual genuine reincarnation through Miranda and Tabitha. If it's true, genuine reincarnation, that reincarnation is so flawed by the own plot itself, the writing, how it's been done since season 1. Other characters who are clearly replacements of other people in the cycle can't be reincarnations because their former selves are not even dead and the ages don't match up. It's throwing me for a loop. I'm really praying to God that we find out in this next episode that it's not reincarnation, because otherwise that could destroy the entire plot of this show. Why was this never triggered before? Why now? Why would Tabitha have these visions now of a past version of herself and not before, when she was in her own house, when she saw her own children? Like, there's so many other ways that would have been a lot stronger plot points to point out the fact that Tabitha recognized or saw something without having to reveal. And it almost feels exactly how I felt when I got the Jasper reveal. This whole show has been building up this doll that's creepy, that's been screaming at people that belong to a previous person in the town. And the payoff should have been that the doll actually did talk. A lot of viewers in my last video that talked about this also agreed with that. And for that to not be the payoff, and instead we get a cheap twist of Victor misremembering and the boy in white being the one talking, just wasn't the correct writing choice there, in my opinion. And this is giving the same thing. We've had this, the ending of the entire plot. I was talking to my family about this, that it's like, it's that level of writing that gives you the level of a Game of Thrones, the level of a Stranger Things, where these twists have payoffs that make sense and were built up through the plot that you can go back and you can watch and you can know were true. And that's something we're starting to lose in this show. Let me know what you guys think, but that's how I'm starting to feel. It literally made me go to Google and see if there were new writers for season 3, which apparently there are some new writers, but I couldn't find hard evidence, just a lot of people talking about the fact that there were new writers on the show. Again, let me know what you guys think about this. I've been hinting at this in past videos, that the writers are very clearly changing the story in order to feed the viewership, and it's going to ruin this show if they keep doing it. I hope that they don't keep doing it. That's basically the end of this video. Honorable mentions on all the things we need to be thinking about based off this episode and just based off of the entire season. Now let's talk about channel 16. Jade was talking to Kenny in the police station when he first arrived. It popped off on channel 16. We know that now this radio will turn on specifically on channel 16, which I believe is the same entity that's playing on the phones, playing on the radio, and playing on the music boxes in the diner. Now, we know, however, that when the Cicada monster and the other monsters got a hold of the radio, when they first got a hold of Randall in season 2, that channel was channel 47. Again, the relevance of channel 47, book 74, 4, and 7. There's a lot going on here. Going to be a separate video from me, but I wanted to point that out, that there's different channels depending on the monster that is playing with the radio. Last thing I want to mention, the tapestry. Now, the tapestry that is in Ellis and Fatima's room. I, for a long time, thought that Ellis had painted this tapestry. And I think I'm starting to agree with some of the commenters that I've seen on my channel who are saying that this tapestry does not belong to them and that someone else painted this tapestry and it happens to look like them. Now, a few things I want to bring up about this. Yes, it could potentially be Miranda's. We know Miranda paints. It looks similar, but I'm not ready to say that it 100% is Miranda's type of painting, but it could be her having the vision of them in Fromville. However, I also want to point out that it could be anyone's tapestry, and that this painting that looks like them could be of even a version of them before in Fromville. All of this could be someone else's painting that looks like them, and it could be of someone else that was in the town that went through the same storyline in a different cycle. Now, these next two things I'm about to bring up are potentially spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, click off this video now. Let's talk now. Spoiler for the last episode of the season. The man in yellow is supposedly going to make an appearance in episode 10. Apparently, he is on the IMDb website in episode 10 and he's going to make an appearance. So I want to talk about who I believe the man in yellow is. I believe the man in yellow is Martin. I think Martin is going to be this man in a yellow suit who is relevant to another timeline, and we're going to get more payoff on who Martin is, what he's connected to, what he did in his timeline, and all of those things and above. However, the man in yellow could be somebody else, but the biggest reason I believe that Martin is the man in yellow is because the man in yellow is very clearly depicted with a mole on his face, which is obviously going to be a very important detail to show us who the man in yellow is. That was on purpose. This mole on his face is going to tell us who he is. There's only one character in the entire show that's male with a mole on his face in the same spot that could potentially be this character, and that is Martin. It's hard to tell, but if you look at the film, that is it for me. I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys are starting to see some of the things that I'm saying that are starting to add up and obviously connect. I appreciate everyone who's been watching my videos, all the new subscribers. It's insane. I'm still waiting for the final progress on YouTube partnership before I actually get partnered and monetized. But I'm so happy that you guys enjoy my videos. I love making these videos regardless. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.